pause the video and leave it paused for when students come in so that they can do the objective and do now. Unpause the video once the objective and do now have been covered. Okay, so the video is unpaused. You went over the objective and do now. For the do now, please make sure that you wrote that on the board because this will come up again later on in the lesson. So if you need to, you can pause and write it on the board now. Just a friendly reminder, Celebration Knowledge of Unit 5 is on Friday. It's just a short, about 30-minute, one-page front and back. Homework page 1 through 6 is also due Friday. You can come check your answer key beforehand if you'd like, or check the answer key for the homework. Perseverance portfolios, if you haven't turned in, make sure to turn them in as soon as possible. So action plan, correction, and any proof of knowledge errors in your folder, and then just hand that to me when you see me. So the first part of today, you're going to be doing an activity called Instant Experts, where you have 25 minutes to read and create a poster explaining how your assigned factor impacts the climate. So each group will have a different factor that impacts the climate. You're all responsible for understanding each factor. So you're going to be the expert for one, but you need to understand what other groups tell you they're going to present to you. I'll put the readings on Google Classroom if you'd like to review them yourself, but ideally if everyone does a good job, you really shouldn't need to. I'm not trying to make extra work for you. So these are some of the factors that you're going to see. Depending on how many groups you have in your period, you might not necessarily do every single one. You'll talk about Earth's orbit, you'll talk about the sun and solar activity, you'll talk about tectonic activity and the movement of the continents, you'll talk about ocean and atmospheric circulation, you talk about volcanoes, glaciers, and how human activities impact the climate. The directions are here in blue or purple or whatever this is. A reading for your topic is already on your group station. There are 4 copies. Each of them is in a sheet protector. Please leave them in the sheet protectors because I made color copies and I'd like to be able to use them for other periods. Please don't accidentally remove them from your group either. Remember, we have our group roles. Please pick 2 out of the 4 to use. I'd like you to gain practice doing multiple at once. Poster paper and markers are in the usual place. Please make sure to put the markers back where they are so that the next period can find it in the bucket. So you'll have 25 minutes to do this, and then you'll come back and you'll be presenting your topics to each other. So if you'd like to hear the directions for presenting, you can keep going. Otherwise, I would recommend pausing it, and then we'll go over the directions after you make your posters in 25 minutes, which is not a ton of time, so make sure you're working effectively. Okay, so hopefully our posters are all made, and now it's time to present. So I'd like you to have a discussion about what a good audience looks and sounds like, and what a good audience does. Go ahead, pause the video, discuss that as a class, and then I'll put some examples as well. So some things I would say that a good audience should look and sound like. First off, if we're listening to a presentation, an audience should be quiet during the presentation, and then I would say should be asking questions after, or in a polite way by, say, raising hands. I would say people should look attentive, so that could look like sitting up, right? Eyes on the speaker, not distracted by other work or whatever. Let's see, what else? I think those are some good ones. What is a good audience doing? Well, a lot of this is what they already are doing as well, but I would also add taking notes is a great way to show that you're really paying attention, and planning questions is also a good one, because you don't want to just rudely interrupt them, but if you jot down a question, you can remember to ask it later. The sub will actually be keeping track of the questions you ask. You should each ask 1 useful question by the end of all the presentations. So that's an average of 4 per presentation. So not every presentation should necessarily have like 20 people asking questions, because frankly we don't have time for that. If you've already asked a question, please give time for others to ask first before asking your question, because I'd like to be able to see that everyone at least asked 1 question. So go ahead and pause the video, go through all of the group's presentations, and then unpause the video for directions for the next section when you're done. So I hope you found that interesting. We've learned a lot about climate change and a lot of different factors. It's obviously very complicated. We learned about the greenhouse effect on page 4, and that wasn't exactly simple anyway. And now we've learned about all these different things that can change. So we're going to be on page 21, and this is our last review activity. I'm calling this a synthesis model. I want you to try to put together as much as you can that we've learned this unit into one model, showing how all these factors interact. So consider how energy is coming in, how energy is being stored, and how energy is escaping, or being trapped for that matter. In the Do Now, you brainstormed factors that we already learned about climate change. Pause the video and add to those factors based off what we've learned today, so that we have a master list that has all the factors that can affect climate change. Go ahead and do that now. So now that we have a list of all the possible factors, use that list and create a model showing how these various factors impact climate change. To be perfectly honest, it might not be possible to do all of them, especially given the amount of space you have and that you're only going to have 30 minutes for this activity. So I'd like to challenge you to do 5, and one of them must be the greenhouse effect. So essentially the greenhouse effect plus 4 other factors. You're going to have 20 minutes on your own, and then 10 minutes to compare, discuss, and edit your models. The 20 minutes on your own really needs to be on your own. It's the end of the unit. This is essentially the last thing we're doing before our celebration of knowledge. If you're struggling, go back into the notes during that 10 minutes you can ask. But during those 20 minutes, you really should be on your own. Go ahead, pause, and you can unpause when you're ready for the last section of class. So in our last little bit of class, I'd like to give you an opportunity to look over your air pollution project scores. I had all these graded, I think, by Sunday, so it's been in Power School for a little bit. Your scored rubric is on your mailbox, which actually breaks down where you gained or lost points. On the actual document on Google Classroom, I tried to leave comments to help you understand where you might have gotten off track. So you can check those on Google Classroom once I'm done with directions. If you did not complete enough of the assignment, you may have received an incomplete. You'll have a comment clearly indicating that you received an incomplete. And in Power School, you won't have a grade for the class. And in fact, you won't get a grade for the class until you submit the assignment. Projects are not optional. Everyone must submit every single project. Yes, you may resubmit the assignment if you would like to. If you do, you must correct everything, not just one tiny part, because frankly, it's not really worth either of our time for you just to correct one little thing. So please fix everything that you can, and if you do that, then I'll try to grade it for you. Okay? Any extra time, please spend organizing your homework and binder, because these need to be good to go for Friday. Go ahead and pause the video so that this stays on the screen, and that's all I have for you.